She carried trays through marble halls, invisible to power, until one word stopped a billion-dollar deal. In a room full of men in suits, it wasn't the lawyers or executives who changed everything. It was the maid who refused to stay silent. This is the story of Maya Williams and how she rewrote the rules of corporate justice. In a towering Manhattan skyscraper, a room full of elite financial executives gathered around a marble table, ready to finalize a massive international deal. Everything was polished, words, suits, agendas, until a voice emerged from the shadows of the room. Not from a board member or translator, but from Maya Williams, a hotel server holding a tray of bottled water. She calmly interrupted in perfect Arabic, "Excuse me, Serbot. What you just said is a linguistic trap." Heads turned in unison. The sheik at the head of the table narrowed his eyes, stunned. She wasn't on the legal team. She was staff. But Maya didn't falter. She exposed the truth. The legal clause being approved allowed retroactive override of decisions, stripping local control entirely. The sheik questioned her, and Maya answered with fluency, confidence, and razor-sharp analysis. She revealed she once worked in Abu Dhabi in high-level risk compliance before returning to care for her mother. Her current role was just a paycheck, but her mind was anything but ordinary. The translator beside the sheik was dismissed in silence. Maya had just unseated a system with her voice. As she walked out, not fired but watched, her supervisor threatened her. But higher eyes had noticed. Veronica Ellison, the hotel's elusive general manager, told Maya to report to her office. That moment of courage had cracked a ceiling. When Maya arrived at Veronica's sleek 31st floor office, she was still reeling. Veronica, composed and sharp, saw not a maid but a buried professional with real insight. They discussed Maya's past, a finance expert silenced by circumstance and surname. Veronica offered her a challenge. Review the annotated contract overnight and flag anything of concern. Maya accepted, and later, in her modest apartment, she surrounded herself with notes, sticky tabs, her late mother's pen, and brewed tea. The contract was riddled with traps. Vague phrasing, disguised ownership shifts, retroactive powers. Maya's eyes blurred as the city pulsed outside, but she kept reading, dissecting, uncovering. By morning, she had flagged critical sections that could destabilize the entire deal. She returned the next day with annotations sharper than any legal memo. Veronica read them, quietly impressed. Maya had caught what 10 lawyers had missed. That same morning, a request came directly from the sheik's office. Maya was invited, not summoned, to rejoin the negotiation. Not as a server, but as a consultant. She wore a gray dress, held her binder like armor, and walked past the very men who once ignored her. This time, she had a seat at the table, and when she spoke, the tone of the room changed. She translated legal ambiguity into clarity, cultural nuance into diplomacy. Even the sheik listened closely. By the end of that meeting, the contract was rewritten, and Maya was no longer just a name tag in the corner. But power never yields quietly. Outside the meeting, Maya was cornered by a junior partner who questioned her authority, her clearance, her presence. She answered calmly. Her clearance lived in the footnotes he didn't bother to read. Veronica shut down the confrontation swiftly, but the resistance was a warning. In the following weeks, Maya was offered a contract position with the sheik's U.S. division. Generous, prestigious, and unprecedented. She accepted. But from her first day, the pushback began. Files went missing. Keycards glitched. Whispers followed her in corridors. Still, she pushed through, flagged inconsistencies, translated risk into solutions. Then came something darker. A conversation overheard. Someone was worried about her digging too deep, especially into something called the Zurich transfer. That night, Maya pulled every file she could find. She found a buried $23 million transaction labeled environmental reallocation. No project, no oversight, just money bouncing between shell firms across countries. She encrypted the files and sent a copy to Veronica. A minute later, her screen went black. A forced shutdown. In the hallway outside her apartment, someone approached. Footsteps. Then a knock. Maya froze. Through the peephole, a man stared back, expressionless. He walked away without speaking. That night, Maya hid the hard drive under a floorboard, her instincts screaming louder than fear. She was no longer just disrupting a contract. She had found the skeleton key to a deeper corruption. The next morning, Maya met Veronica at a public library, under cloak of caution. Both had been compromised. Maya revealed what she'd found: the Zurich trail, the shell firms, the missing millions. The key name? Philip Warren, high-ranking legal advisor. Veronica made the call. Skip compliance, take it straight to the sheik. But first, they needed stronger evidence. That's when Maya reached out to Amal and Angelina, trusted insiders. Together, they traced more money. $40 million meant for clean water initiatives on Native American reservations had been rerouted through offshore accounts, ending in private equity linked to Warren's old college roommate. This wasn't just fraud. It was moral theft. Amal knew a retired controller named Elijah who might have original documents. The team met him in Queens. He handed over a lockbox of 5 years' worth of internal memos, ledgers, and smoking guns. Among the names was Harold Coington, the firm's senior legal counsel and close friend of the sheik. If they named him, they'd shatter the foundation. But Elijah was clear. Then shake it, or this all happens again. Maya worked all night connecting timelines and mapping trails. By dawn, she encrypted everything, sent it to trusted sources, and waited for the fallout. When Veronica replied, "This will burn down the house," Maya answered, "The house was already on fire. We're just ringing the alarm." In the next board meeting, the silence was heavier than words. Maya presented the full network of corruption. Stolen aid, redirected assets, forged documentation. Philip Warren and Harold Coington sat across from her, pale and cornered. Veronica passed affidavits and internal memos across the table. The sheik listened, stone-faced. "Do you deny these findings?" he asked. Philip tried to defend. Harold claimed legal flexibility. The sheik erupted. "We fund these initiatives to empower what's ignored, not enrich charlatans in suits." In one stroke, he suspended both men, revoked access, and launched an external investigation. Maya watched as security escorted them out, laptops seized, phones collected. But she wasn't naive. Power didn't vanish, it regrouped. In the aftermath, Veronica and Maya met with other executives to begin systemic reform. They sketched a new compliance framework: independent audits, whistleblower protections, ethical oversight. Maya was offered a permanent role as strategic ethics advisor. But she hesitated. The system that ignored her was now asking her to shape it. Veronica said, "You changed the rhythm of this place. Now decide what kind of fire you want to light next." That night, Maya returned to a community center she once volunteered at. A mentor reminded her, "You remind me of your father, quiet, until it mattered." Maya knew. She was ready. She returned to the sheik's office the next morning and said, "I accept." Her new role came with full authority over ethical oversight across all operations. A position built in her name. The team introduced a new charter: transparency, cultural sensitivity, community partnership, and enforced clarity in all contracts. Maya stood before global partners and laid out the framework. "We don't enforce compliance," she said. "We enforce respect." When a partner asked about whistleblower visas, Maya had the answer ready. "Yes, legal and financial relocation support will be guaranteed." Silence followed, then approval. That afternoon, she met with tribal leaders in Minnesota. They offered their own metrics: child health, school attendance, river fish counts. This was how trust was built, not just in boardrooms but in real lives. By midnight, Maya sat on her rooftop, the integrity charter in hand. Could it ripple beyond finance? Could it become a model? She whispered into the wind, "We'll see." The next day, she joined another contract review session. The same vague clauses appeared again. She flagged them again. And now, instead of being ignored, her voice steered the room. Maya wasn't just catching traps. She was rewriting how deals were done. Weeks passed. Maya arrived early each day, and her name carried weight, not as a symbol but as a safeguard. Yet the pressure was relentless. One morning, she received an anonymous envelope marked Legacy Holdings. Inside were documents showing more redirected funds, this time under the guise of an environmental justice initiative. It was meant for tribal communities. Instead, it landed in a shell firm owned by a board member's contact. The team reconvened: Amal, Angelina, Maya. They met at Elijah's again. The new documents implicated names that shook the structure, people above board level. But the trail was clean, undeniable. At the next board meeting, Maya presented it all. The fallout was massive. More suspensions, a restructuring order. And the sheik? He made it clear. No document reaches his desk without Maya's review. She had gone from carrying bottled water to carrying the company's conscience. In her apartment that night, she placed the ethics charter, her father's compass, and the brass token beside one another. Then she received a message: "We want to name the Ethics Council after you." Maya didn't need a statue, but a system built on voice and vigilance. That was worth everything. The story closed not with applause, but with permanence. A plaque was placed in the hotel lobby, right where Maya once stood with a tray. It read, "Saved by a voice that refused to stay silent." She gave a short speech during its unveiling, humble yet powerful. "A maid can carry a message," she said. "That's where courage starts." Applause followed, not for a hero, but for a new way forward. Maya returned to her apartment that night, the city humming below. She held her father's compass in one hand and the ethics charter in the other. This wasn't just policy. It was justice breathing through contracts, through clean water, through every person who had ever been overlooked. She sat on her rooftop and whispered to the sky, "Integrity has a place here." Somewhere in the distance, the wind carried her voice. And in offices and classrooms and boardrooms it echoed, not because it was loud, but because it was true. Maya Williams had become the voice in the system, and she wasn't done. From a maid to a moral compass, Maya's voice didn't just change a contract. It rewrote the rules of corporate power. If this story moved you, hit like, share it with someone who believes in truth, and let us know in the comments. What would you have done in her place?